Be strong.
Alrighty, well, very happy Thursday to you guys. It is June the 8th, and we got a busy day, busy show for you guys today. It's kind of new because we are also doing a show live at 7 o'clock in the morning. I know it's an uneasy schedule that everyone is still getting used to. I know I am. Now, that's the first thing that I came to attention yet, and yes, I have the fan in the background, so you see some of the stuff flying. Don't be alarmed here, but I got some stuff in the background. Anyways, the throw-in is going to be a Monday through Friday morning show, and pardon me as if I maybe look distracted, but I'm kind of just getting something just pumped up here. Just because I forgot to do it, last minute maintenance on the show. But this is our Friday because we won't be here tomorrow thanks to a doctor's appointment that I had to be put in place. And so we're going to kick our weekend off early. We got a lot to talk about, a lot to bring to your table here on a Thursday morning. And the biggest thing that came out this entire weekend was talking about AEW Dynamite. And what I mean by that is there was a lot that happened last week, and there was a lot that moved forward. And the biggest thing was about this AEW World Championship, okay? Remember last Friday, all right? Let's actually take you back to Double or Nothing 2 Sundays ago, a matter of fact, okay, where CM Punk defeats Hangman Adam Page to become the new AEW World Champion, all right? Now, my thoughts on that. I didn't believe that Hangman was done with his title reign. But over the last 6 months, Hangman has accomplished it. I just wasn't ready as a fan in how supportive I was. You got to remember, when Hangman won the title from Kenny Omega, okay, back in November, I wasn't even ready for Hangman. I didn't even know who Hangman was. I grew up learning who Hangman Adam Page was over the last 6 months. I became and I generated a fan base. I was sold in on him, and I just wasn't ready yet to see Hangman Adam Page title run come to an end. But it did back at Double or Nothing to CM Punk. Now, on a side note, okay, because CM Punk wrestled on AEW Dynamite last Wednesday. I think he was, if I'm not mistaken, and part of a 6-man tag match trio. And I was excited, I'm not really comfortable. You think of all the guys that have an opportunity to become AEW World Champion, to see CM Punk there. See, for me, any champion needs to be someone who needs that title. And CM Punk returns to professional wrestling. Maybe for me, it's a little too soon that CM Punk is given that title and has been put that title on the mark as early on. That's just my opinion. Okay, that's how that's how I am looking at things. I think that CM Punk is just a little too early to put the title on. I could think of a few other guys that deserve to be a champion. You think of one recently who's been made it apparent was MJF. You think he's been with AEW longer than CM Punk? He's been wrestling and paying his dues longer than CM Punk, at least as of recent. And he's really earned. He's been with AEW from day one. He's kind of earned his opportunity, and especially where he stands right now in the individual ratings, he's definitely earned his opportunity. What ended up what we do end up seeing is CM Punk winning AEW Championship. Now, I'm sure that in a few weeks I'll be okay with it. The worst part of it is that he gets injured. And last Friday, as we mentioned, for Rampage, we talked about this all week. It's been an entire week long hot topic in the professional wrestling world. Okay, CM Punk said that he's going to have to take some time away to have his foot heal. Now, last night on AEW Dynamite, Jim Ross was kind of giving us a couple of updates, a little bit of updates. And the update just included that he sustained a foot injury and he is going to get evaluated, and they will determine what the healing process is going to be, whether that it requires surgery, whether that is going to just take a couple weeks off and relax. We don't know exactly the longevity of this. The only thing we know is that CM Punk will be out for an extended period of time, and now it's been incorporated through Tony Khan, through AEW, and now through New Japan Pro Wrestling with the Forbidden Door coming up June 27th, that there will be a interim champion that will later on face and compose as number one contenders for the AEW World Championship. Now, okay, I wanted to see here, because before the show I was reading something, and if I could find it, no, that's not it. If I could find, I don't know if I put it on my page. What happened? No. What's going on here? There we go. All right. So Tony Khan has commented. Well, he won't comment on that. Okay, so that's not the picture. Let me go back. I found something. I don't know if I tweeted it or reposted it on our Facebook page. Let me just check. There you go. No. Okay. So let me give you some information just real quick while we go around in circle. New information on CM Punk's injury, Punk surgery update. All right. According to AEW, okay, or actually according to Wrestling Headlines, according to last night, all right, it was announced during last night's episode on AEW Dynamite that Punk underwent lower leg surgery earlier today. So as of yesterday, CM Punk did attend surgery, and it was a success. So we don't know still yet that the timetable on how long his surgery is going to be. It could be a couple. I'm assuming about at least 4 to 6 weeks throughout the summertime. And so you think of the summer of CM Punk. It is not the summer of CM Punk. It's the summer of MJF, and I will testify to that right through the get-go here. All right, so here's how Tony Khan has disclosed that this was going to happen. All right, he announced last Saturday after it was announced that this is what AEW is going to do in the meantime. What AEW planned on doing was, one, he planned on having a battle royale to start off last night. That took precedence, and out of all the men that joined up, Kyle O'Reilly won that battle royale. The winner of the battle royale, so Kyle O'Reilly, went on to the main event last night to face Jon Moxley, who was ranked number one in the ratings. And I'll get to that back here in a moment. Okay, that match, Kyle O'Reilly and Jon Moxley, great match, great main event, great spotlight for Kyle O'Reilly. He comes up short though, and Jon Moxley picks up the victory, which means that he's going to be headed to the Forbidden Door on June 26th to face the winner of Kiyoshi or Kiyoki. All right. and that determination will be on the 12th. So it will be on Sunday at New Japan Pro Wrestling Dominion. So here's my biggest concept. One, there's a couple of things that I have trouble with grasping. All right, Tony Khan. I read an article before the program. Tony Khan laid out some structures because he was asked a lot of questions. Because apparently, prior to last week's Dynamite, or at least according to last week, Wardlow was ranked number 1, and then CM Punk was ranked number 2. Well, according to Tony Khan, CM Punk has been undefeated throughout 2022, which gives him the upper advantage over Wardlow. Now, Wardlow came out last night and he cut a promo. All right, he said, "Listen, I don't want to be a part of this Intern AEW World Championship to begin with, because at the end of the day, he's not my champion. CM Punk's my champion. Until CM Punk comes back out, I'm not going after the AEW World Championship." And he continues how he wants to go after the TNT Championship because, listen, and Wardlow has done significant wonders. You think of the two guys that stand out to you in both WWE and both AEW. And the first guys I come to the conclusion I can think of right away of, okay, if you got a name as of June 9th, 2022, the talent of the year, okay, maybe breakout star of the year. WWE is Theory, all right, and I've explained this numerous of times of what he has been able to accomplish over just in this last 6 months alone. The next guy has to be Wardlow. I mean, he's overcame obstacles and obstacles and obstacles, again, without receiving anything. Okay, so Wardlow now has his eyes set on the TNT Championship, which I am pleased to see that now, since he has this whole I don't think he's done with Sean Spears, but now since his whole MJF stuff is behind him, that he can go ahead and pursue a championship and kind of make a name for himself. That was one thing I really enjoyed about watching Wardlow over the last 6 months, is that, from just being a bodyguard to MJF, or just to be a puppet to Sean Spears, he actually made a name for himself. He became his own character. And a lot of people say the imitation of maybe a guy like Batista, but you know what? A modern day Batista. Let's throw that out there. And I really like where Wardlow is going. Now we go back to the whole AEW trying to determine who the new, interim champion is. I love the idea of, having this New Japan and AEW face each other at the Forbidden Door, right? Number 1 contenders for each. The winner will become the interim champion, and when CM Punk is ready to come back, he will have to face whoever that interim champion is. He's holding on to that title before he becomes the number 1 contender for that official title. And where I'm thinking it should go, and this means no disrespect to Jon Moxley, I really believe that New Japan Pro Wrestling should be going after that championship. Okay, should be obtaining that championship, because when you talk about this Forbidden Door, okay, there's no reason why New Japan Pro Wrestling, they've already made a statement over this last night on what they're doing in professional wrestling, what they're doing in AEW alone. The one thing that I am maybe distraught about is how quickly AEW has left Hangman Adam Page out of the AEW picture. Okay, he ended up facing David Finlay last night, and we'll get into that a little later on in the program. But after the match, he announces that he wants to go out and face. He wants to go out there and he wants to face the New Japan. Okay, is it the IGP World Heavyweight Champion, I believe, in Okada? Last night, Hangman calls out Okada for the title. Now, he's being stopped by Adam Page, but I'm not a fan I'm not a fan on how quickly AEW has dropped Paige from the AEW World Championship, considering that you have an interim champion and you haven't even considered the last guy who has won the AEW World Champion. Now, it's great that, listen, we talk about the Forbidden Door, it moves on. If Punk was champion and he was able to defend his title at Forbidden Door, that's one thing. But to see, to see a new crowned interim champion at the Forbidden Door, and not to see, even consider to see Hangman Adam Page, who carried that AEW World Championship for the last 6 months, Hangman Adam Page, who's defended it successfully for the last 6 months, in that picture, for me, I'm mind blown. We'll talk a little bit more about AEW Dynamite that take place. We are, like I said, we will not be here tomorrow morning. I have an early doctor, so we're going to start our weekend early. So we're going to come back and get you ready for SmackDown. What's going on? What do we need to look out for? We have some breaking news that came out yesterday through the bump. So I want to share with that. Looks like Roman Reigns is being scratched off the schedule for Money in the Bank. And gosh, I'm going to tell you this right now. To see Roman Reigns not defend that title, not one, not two, but 3 premium live events, and it's not like he's competing. All right, he hasn't competed since WrestleMania Backlash. I'm a little worried. Okay, and maybe it's to the other breaking news that came forth earlier this week on why he probably won't be scheduled for Money in the Bank. The other thing is you also got Street Profits trying to get a shot at with the Usos after picking up the victory back on Monday. What are we going to see with that? And then last week, I think one of the most underrated conversations we did not talk about at all is that Natalya has become the new #1 contenders opponent for Ronda Rousey in the SmackDown Women's Champion. So Ronda will get her first title defense at some point. I don't know when. I haven't seen a date. So if you guys know a date on when Natalya and Ronda will face each other for that SmackDown Women's Championship, let me know. Also, listen, maybe the weather rain delay kind of kicked us out of gear because I tell you, the Cincinnati Reds, they've got shot out last night 7-0. We'll talk about that. Game 4 of a 4-game series wraps up today. First pitch 12:35. We'll get you all the details for that, plus much more around the sports world. We're just getting underway. We're going to take a quick time out. When we come back, we continue the throw-in on a beautiful Thursday morning right here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. TNC Sports Talk would like to give a shout out to StreamYard. StreamYard Studios, the prep home of shows like The Throw-In with Justin. StreamYard Studios, where you can create your podcasts, YouTube videos, host virtual business meetings, and even conduct interviews. Check out their free version today at StreamYard.com. All right, we're back here on a Thursday morning. What's going on, everyone? Thank you guys for tuning in. Good morning, Armchair Booking. It's 7 a.m. I'm trying to get back to the original plan of this show is to be able to have a show from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. in the morning. And I know earlier this week we had shows from noon to 2, 10 to noon, and to this morning we have a show from 7 to 9. And like I mentioned, I won't be here tomorrow. And I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow. And the goal is to see where I'm at with my shoulder injury. About 2 months ago, I hurt my shoulder at work, and you go through the logistics of a workers' compensation case, and you go through so much regular treatment before they decide to want to advance their treatment or go see a specialist. And so we're at the point where now I'm supposed to get some results back tomorrow morning, and then we can finally figure out the proper plan of me going back to work. And I tell you, I'm getting tired and I'm getting just drained of just sitting around the house, not being able to do much of anything. But yet again, I don't know what the results are with my injury, so hopefully we find that out a little bit later. We got a lot to talk about today. Like I mentioned, the opening conversation was Jon Moxley winning the AEW side of this AEW World Championship, internship that will be decided at the Forbidden Door June 26th, which would be a big deal because now we're waiting for New Japan Pro Wrestling to come up with their number one contender. And the only thing that I like I said, there's a few things I think wrong with this. One, why wasn't Hangman Adam Page not included? He was the former AEW World Champion. And listen, I understand maybe you're trying to get a new image on that title. I get it. But he could have been the one to face Jon Moxley in the main event last night. He could have been the one to at least be able to win the Battle Royale, or at least take part in the Battle Royale. In my opinion, you should have had Jon Moxley win the Battle Royale and go on to face Hangman Adam Page in the main event and have to defeat Hangman Adam Page. I don't want to take nothing away from Kyle O'Reilly, all right? And obviously, it looks like, from my understanding, that, according to last night, Adam Page is going to be looking to go after New Japan's champion, Okada. Now, I don't have a problem with that. I'm all satisfied with it. But the fact that you have not even... I feel like it's a slap in the face. It shows a sign of disrespect to Hangman Adam Page, the guy who was your face of the company for the last 6 months. And you haven't even given him the opportunity to get a chance back at that AEW World Championship. Do you disagree with me? That's what I want to know. The Battle Royale should have. It's Jon Moxley. I'm not saying that he couldn't be a contender, but the way that they went about it, for me, disrespected Hangman Adam Page, because when CM Punk says I cannot defend this title, I have to go into surgery and I'm going to be out for a period of time, but when I come back, I will be champion. When the first thing that comes to my mind, and the first thing is, all right, who was the last champion? Who did Punk beat? It was still a fresh beat a week ago, back on Saturday, or back on two Sundays ago on Double or Nothing. So why wasn't Hangman Adam Page considered for the interim AEW World Championship? If I was booking it, and like I said, I'm not a story writer. This is just me booking things. I'm putting Hangman Adam Page as the guy to beat in the main event. I would have had the Battle Royale. I would have Jon Moxley win. Guys like Jon Moxley, Wardlow in there. Guys like them to win the match. Moxley goes over. He faces Hangman Adam Page. Moxley even beats Hangman Page. All right. And then Moxley goes on to Forbidden Door to become the interim champion. Now, here's the thing. Like I said, I'm not discrediting Kyle O'Reilly or what he's capable of doing. Okay, but what I am doing is you kind of figured after Kyle O'Reilly winning, do you really see Kyle O'Reilly going on to Forbidden Door to face one of the New Japan Pro wrestlers to become the new interim champion? No. No disrespect to Kyle O'Reilly. That's not happening. So it was pretty set in stone after this Battle Royale who was going to walk away the winner and who was going to walk away heading to Forbidden Door. At the same time, where have we gotten now? Because Adam Page calls out after he beats David Finlay in another credible match. There was a lot of incredible matches last night. He calls out and he wants Okada. And says, hey, listen, if I'm not going to get a chance at the AEW World Championship, I may go after New Japan's Pro Wrestling Championship. Somehow Cole, who's on screen, but he's dealing with an injury himself. he's kind of stepping his foot in. I don't know when the return time for Adam Page is set, but from my understanding, he's out for a few weeks. I don't know if he'll be back in time. Could we see a triple threat match being held at the Forbidden Door with Cole, with Page, and with Okada? Or would this even lead up to a scenario where, Cole, cost or ends up costing Page the match at Forbidden Door if he's not ready to be, medically cleared to compete inside the ring? Still a lot of answers yet to be determined. Yeah, and one of the big stories that I was expected or I was wanting to hear was what's the update status with MJF. I have linked sources, reports, and I'm not gonna, I'm just reporting what I've read and what I've been told is that MJF, there's a part of MJF that wants to go to the WWE, that if the money is right and the contract's right, that he will sign with the WWE in a heartbeat. He's all about the money, and I get with that. But there's also a part of the story says that he wants to get into the acting industry. I mean, I don't think his wrestling time is done yet, and I don't want him to get too comfortable with, acting. But let's also face it. I mean, I don't know how he would do in acting. If he is the same character on the screen than he is out of the screen, which could be a jerk from time to time, then I don't know how long he'll last in the acting industry. And I mean, if AEW isn't treating him correctly, do you really think that the WWE is going to treat him any better than what he's being treated now? There are WWE talents that are leaving WWE because they're not getting treated properly themselves. Because WWE is a corporate industry and they are a business industry and they handle things a certain way, and not necessarily even a wrestling way. I can tell you this, there's a difference between handling things a wrestling way and handling things a business corporate way. And WWE handles things differently. Do you really think that MJF is going, he's looking to be treated better, to be given the respect, and to be given the ability to be acknowledged when AEW allows the platform to have multiple talent stars at the top of the food chain representing the company? I know a few weeks back on a Justin and Trey, we kept on talking about the face of the company. And I told you how I felt that although Hangman Page was the champion and he's technically the face of the company for AEW, I don't necessarily consider him the face of the company, in my opinion. There's multiple people that wear that hat. Chris Jericho represents the face of the company in AEW, in my opinion. Wardlow is another guy. MJF, CM Punk represents the company. Adam Cole represents the face of the company. In AEW, it's more of a group attachment to who is the face of the company instead of that one guy like Roman Reigns who runs the entire face of the WWE. That the WWE focus their protection, their eyes, their ears, their money, their business right now all on Roman Reigns. And right now all on the bloodline. Now, listen, Cody Rhodes, I mean, even Seth Rollins isn't getting the same level of respect than Roman Reigns. He is not built at the same level as Roman Reigns. So in the WWE, we've known this. And, I remember coming back as, Trey went to go ask and talk to Roger and Chris because I wanted to hear it from people who've been inside the industry. What did they think? And they were flat out, listen, WWE has that one guy. It was John Cena for all those years. That one guy who becomes the face of the company, and they're going to focus and they're going to center the entire game plan around that one guy. And for AEW, you can't name just that one guy. Now, traditionally, yeah, it's going to be who's your main champion, or any champion to say the least, are the faces of the company, because they hold the title that represents your brand, and they're expected to hold that standard as a champion, as that face, as representing the ambassadors of that company or that wrestling industry. So realistically, you think about MJF wanting to be more respected by Tony Khan. He wants to be, given an opportunity. He has not been given. He's been through all of these guys. He's been through CM Punk. He's been through Wardlow. He's been, he's the second highest ranking television airtime every time he comes on TV, and yet he's being treated as a mid-card stock. I mean, for Tony Khan, if you look at it as a business perspective, listen, why change it? He's bringing us a mid-card stock he's bringing us main event airing time in a mid-card slot. When I have him come on in the middle of the show, not for any titles, the fact that he's bigger than a champion, that's how MJF is over. For me, MJF doesn't need a title to be anybody special. He's already unique. He's already talented. And the fact that you have me watching him, that I want to watch him each time he comes on TV, because I don't know what he's going to say next. Everything that comes out of his mouth is priceless. Okay? Here's a message to MJF, if he's ever listening to this show, God forbid, but he's bigger than a title. He's better than a title. He don't need a title to make him or break him or determine who he is or what he's about or what he can and can't be. MJF has already established himself to the level of greatness without a championship around his waist. So I ask you this. Maybe MJF wants to go to the WWE. Maybe the WWE wants MJF. The fans probably want him to go to WWE. But realistically, think about and listen to what's happening. Don't forget, the WWE is about to be cutting more talent stars. And when that comes, we will be right here to cover it. But do you really think that the WWE is the right place for MJF? Do you really think that the WWE will treat MJF better than the way he's being treated in AEW? I mean, the only reason why Cody Rhodes has come back to WWE is because he wants to build a legacy and build his own name. Listen, Goldust has built, Dustin Rhodes has gotten Goldust, and that's had numerous of success in entertainment, storylines. Dusty Rhodes, had to come, was built prior to coming to WWE. Cody Rhodes was not built. He was built under his family. He had to, in order for him to build his name, he had to leave WWE, go build his name outside the company, form and help elaborate and form AEW, and then now he's getting the opportunity. Same thing goes with Drew McIntyre. Do you really think, Cody Rhodes has been there, done it, let the company came back. And now he's getting a second crack at it as a smarter, wiser, and a bigger entity a bigger asset to the company. Let me put it that way. Do you really think though MJF is going to be that big of an asset? Before we hit to break, I want to tell you guys that AEW is crowning its All-Atlantic Championship tournament. They just started this tournament last night, if you weren't watching AEW Dynamite. And a match has already occurred. There's going to be 3 matches that's going to finalize, or 4 matches total. It's going to finalize to be crowning this All-Atlantic Championship at the Forbidden Door. Okay, you got one match from two New Japan Pro Wrestling wrestlers. Ethan Page takes on Miro, which will take place at Rampage this Friday night. Penta will take on Malachi Black. And then Buddy Matthews and Pac had a match last night. Pac was able to pick up the victory, while Buddy Matthews and Malachi Black had a look on. Now, Pac and Malachi Black stand opposite sides of this tournament. So Pac will face the winner of Ethan Page and Miro. That will take place Friday night. I'm assuming on the 12th, there will be two New Japan Pro wrestlers this Sunday that will face each other to determine who's going to go face Malachi Black or Penta. Now, if I'm just writing this out, I'm thinking Malachi Black is going to pick up the victory. I believe Miro should be picking up the victory to face Pac. Now, and it should be Miro and Pac in the semifinals versus Malachi Black and whoever that New Japan Pro wrestler is. Now, in my opinion of this tournament, there are a lot of talent that has came into AEW over the last, maybe I want to say about a year and a half, at least a year. Okay, Miro being one of the first of the group of WWE stars coming over, and yet again, it's been quite some time since he's been given that proper attention. It kind of feels like lately he's kind of been showing up whenever they just found bookings for him. He's not even founded on dark matches. I would like to see Miro walk away with this All-Atlantic Championship at the end of Forbidden Door. That's my opinion. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, I will let you know the matches that are already set, ready for Rampage and what to expect next week on AEW Dynamite. You guys are listening to The Throw-In with Justin on a Thursday morning right here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. TNC Sports Talk is brought to you by SeatGeek. Before you guys get your next sporting events tickets, baseball, football, hockey, whatever it is, or you guys get your next concert, be sure you guys check out SeatGeek.com. And when you spend $50 or more on your first purchase, make sure you use promo code TNC Sports Talk to save 20%. That is 20% off on your first purchase of $50 or more when you use promo code TNC Sports Talk at SeatGeek.com. June in All Elite Wrestling in AEW, it's all about the Forbidden Door. And we saw that heavily last night while you saw numerous New Japan Pro wrestlers join and enter AEW Dynamite. I feel this is going to be a very interesting combination of two brands coming together for one purpose, and that is to put on an entertaining performance on June 26th at the Forbidden Door. And I love the lead up to it. The only thing that I think that I'm missing the most out of this is AEW is on TNT and AEW is also on TBS. And those are accessible television channels that you could get with almost any video pack or any cable package plan. It is more difficult to find a time or a channel or a way to view New Japan Pro Wrestling. So while you guys, although this cross branding is a good idea because it gives promotion to both AEW Dynamite and whoever's watching New Japan could, is going to be watching Dynamite, see what happens. And it also gives great promotion to New Japan Pro Wrestling. There's only a lot of people, and I'm going to say this, a lot of people, most likely including myself, that is only going to pay attention to the AEW side. And so I don't know if AEW has highly considered, what they're getting themselves into. But I feel that, one, it's important that if New Japan Pro wrestlers are coming over to AEW on television and now getting themselves involved, I feel that is also appropriate that AEW talent goes over to New Japan this month, especially. And, like, for example, the New Japan has a promotion on Sunday called Dominion, and this is where you're going to find most likely who's going to face Jon Moxley for the Intern AEW World Championship. I'm pretty sure also the All Atlantic Championship tournament. These two New Japan Pro, the one match that has the two New Japan Pro wrestlers, are going to probably take place this Sunday as well. I would be a little surprised to see it on an AEW card. But but I love the invasion. And last night we also saw an invasion when you saw, and let me get this down right, when you saw Trent Beretta came down to the ring, cut a promo with the FTR, had them come out, and then the United Empire, Will Ospreay and Osuri Open, came out and just invaded United Kingdom, invaded FTR and Trent Beretta. This will set them up for a match this Friday night on Rampage, which right now looks more suppressing to view and to watch other than SmackDown. And we'll cut to SmackDown here in a moment, or here a little bit later on in our program. So what are we looking forward to Rampage? Well, one thing I love about AEW so much is that they will not allow you to miss a single action. Whether it's you watching on TV, whether it's you searching it up on YouTube and watching the highlights, or even if you're just browsing the AEW website. All right, as I see here, I could go to AEW, and they're pretty good at this. All right, you go to AEW.com, and you just click on their news page. You'll show results. It'll show you the results for last night's episode in details, something the WWE doesn't really give. And they'll just break down segment for segment for segment. How Eddie Kingston went out and cut a promo, how you saw Jericho Appreciation Society and the numbers games. You saw Keith Lee, Andrade El Idolo. AEW is very notorious, all right? The All Atlantic Championship qualifying match, the House of Blacks and Buddy Matthews with Malachi, Brody King, and Julia Hart takes on Death Triangles, the Bastard Pac, and more. And so AEW does not allow you to miss any action, especially the details. Even when the promos, they really do a good job. That's one thing I highly commend for AEW. So what are we looking forward to this Friday night on Rampage? Well, you're going to see Hook and Don Hosson have a moment in the ring together. And I think this dynamic duo is something to be entertaining, something to look out for and watch. Red Velvet and Chris Statlander will go one-on-one with each other. FTR and Trent Beretta will take on, Will Ospreay and the Asura Open, the United Empire, this Friday night. And then you also got Jack Hager taking on Eddie Kingston. I don't know about you, but just those three events alone, that's pretty impressive for a 1 hour event. One mistake I made earlier on the previous segment, Miro and Ethan Page will actually take place next week at Road Rage. Well, one of what we're expected to see next Wednesday, which will most likely sell me into watching this. 3 things to look out for. Got Miro and Ethan Page, and like I mentioned earlier, I believe Miro should have an ability. I'm questioning where has he been. He should be up here competing and probably even winning this All Atlantic Championship tournament. You also see Wardlow taking on a 20-on-1 class action handicap elimination match. My question is for Wardlow is that, listen, every time he tries to come up and every time he tries to take a step forward in progressing his career, something happens where he has to take like 4 or 5 steps back. All right. He loses the TNT championship, and now he's trying to go after the TNT championship again. And that may very, very well be something that you may be seeing here in the next few weeks. But every time he gets thrown a different obstacle, and I love that out of an athlete as talented as Wardlow, as powerful, as big as Wardlow is. I love to see the type of obstacles that he has to accomplish in order to get there. But at the end of the day, win is there is, because you can't keep holding it back from somebody. What does that person have to do time and time and time again in order to be like, all right, that's enough, like he's going to finally win it? You have to build the suspension up properly, and right now the suspension is going perfectly. But the longer we wait, I feel the suspension people will get tired of seeing Wardlow trying to climb to that tower. So I'm going to put it on this note: as of June 8th or June 9th on a Thursday morning, if I don't see Wardlow as AEW champion next, I'm talking about after CM Punk comes back, I'm talking about maybe this time next year. By the time Double or Nothing comes around next year, if I don't see Wardlow as AEW World Champion, I'm going to slowly give up on Wardlow at becoming AEW World Champion. All right? And if he becomes AEW World Champion later down the road next year, beyond past June, beyond past Double or Nothing, it's not going to be as solidifying and as comforting, because there's a sense of comfort when you hear that, when you build your way up to become champion. So let Wardlow keep on fighting. Let him go ahead and win that TNT championship again. But what I'm telling you is, by Double or Nothing next year, if he's not AEW World Championship, you might as well just move on from him and part ways and let him go. Because in my eyes, he's only going to be a mid-card title holder, and that's going to be the TNT championship. Okay, don't put the title on, don't put the tag titles on him. He doesn't need that. I'm just saying that he's going to be a mid-card guy if he doesn't have a championship a year from today. And then if he decided let's say next September, put the title on him, it's not going to be the same build-up as I want. I will be excited to see him built up for a championship run, but I think his time is coming up very sooner than later. That's also another reason why I question what this story, because they're building up AEW is building up a lot of talent. And you got John Moxley because Danielson's out. You got Wardlow. Okay, Adam Cole, which, he has his shenanigans belt. That's what I'm going to call that one for now. You got this All Atlantic Championship underway. And there's guys in there that deserves AEW Championship. Adam Page, I still think he should be in the mix. MJF should be in the mix. Hell, Eddie Kingston should be in the mix in this conversation. And, here's another question, because coming up, also next Wednesday on Dynamite, you got Chris Jericho taking on Ortega in a hair versus hair match. So, at which point is Eddie Kingston or Ortiz? When are they done with the Jericho Society? They've been working on this feud for 4 months now. They had a couple of big matches, great, but how much further can you take it, to be honest? It's like seeing a rerun, a watered down soap opera between the Jericho's Society, Appreciation Society, and Eddie Kingston, Ortiz, and Santana. So exactly what point are you done with it now? Listen, don't get me wrong. Hair versus hair. I would love to see Chris Jericho lose his hair. I don't know if they'll do that to that extent. Maybe Ortiz will lose, but I would love to see that match. That's a matter of fact. That's the only thing that I'm turning in. And like I said, don't forget, Wardlow takes on 20-on-1 class action handicap elimination match. Where are you going to find 20 men? I don't know. The fact that they have 20 random men just ready to face Wardlow, what does it prove? I think that's another question, because, I mean, Wardlow has already established himself over this past 6 months. What else do you need him to do to prove to yourself or to prove to the fans that he's just that good? I don't know. I don't think that you really need to go that level, that extent. I feel like 20-on-1 at this point for Wardlow will just put someone in jeopardy of getting hurt, whether it's him or someone on that 20-men side as well. All right. Hour number 1 is complete. That was a heavy hour number 1 in AEW. I think that's the most AEW I've covered in one show alone. Trying to fill in. We still have to get you ready for SmackDown, what to expect. Some breaking news coming your way about someone being written off of television. Roman Reigns is no longer scheduled for Money in the Bank. But coming up next, let's take a break from professional wrestling. Let's talk about the Cincinnati Reds as they fell short to the Arizona Diamondbacks 7-0. How much of that was the rain? The Arizona Diamondbacks end a 4-game losing streak. All right. Also, let's get you guys ready in the NL Central for the weekend. Like I said, we're not going to be here tomorrow because I have a doctor's appointment. So we will return back on Monday. But let's get you ready and what you guys need to know for this weekend. MLB managers also on hot seats. We'll cover about that. Who's next to possibly go as a general manager? And are you surprised to see the two big names already being released? As well as the NBA Finals continue last night as the Boston Celtics defeated the Golden State Warriors 116-100. All right. I told you yesterday how big that game meant as well, and we will talk about that still to come. All right. The throw-in is under wraps here on a Thursday morning. Thank you guys for tuning in. I am Justin. This is the end of hour number 1, and we will come back with hour number 2. Thank you guys for tuning in right here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. All right, the throw-in is right here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. Be sure to check us out on audio streaming platforms. You guys can download and take us out on the road wherever you guys go. Don't miss a single episode. You guys can find us on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Deezer, Podcast Addict, and Podchaser. Still more applications yet to come. You guys could also head over to our Facebook page, Twitter, and YouTube page for all the information. Alrighty. Just give me a moment here to get back and set up. I want to say good morning to you guys again here on hour number 2 as we just broke hour number 1 all about AEW Dynamite last night. Getting you guys ready for the weekend. Like I said, I won't be here tomorrow So we will have a early 3-day week, and we'll be returning to action on Monday morning. I will follow our YouTube page as we will tell you the time frames that we should be here. Like you said, the idea is to come in here and cover 6 to 8 a.m. Now, we had later on in the mornings earlier this week, we had a 12 to 2, a 10 to noon. This morning is a 7 to 9. I'm starting to get acclimated. Like I said, I'm supposed to find out tomorrow what my work schedule, what the injury update is with me, so I can figure out when I'm going to go back to work. That's going to all be one big game plan there. And also sometimes, the weather is just out here, just rubs you the wrong way. So we'll go ahead and we're working on it. Maybe it's a 7 to 9 Monday through Fridays. A 68 is the idea plan. So we'll see what happens. But, we covered heavily on wrestling. We're going to take a break from that from right now. And what we want to cover down now is, let's break you down to Cincinnati. Excuse me. Oh, gosh. Sorry. Now let's talk to you about the Cincinnati. Alrighty. We get right down to baseball here. Game 3 of a 4-game series last night, taken over with the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Cincinnati Reds. The Arizona Diamondbacks came into last night's game with a 4-game skid losing streak. And we'll talk about the managers here in a moment, but it was a home run clinic given to you by the Cincinnati Reds, by the Arizona Diamondbacks, I'm sorry. Got it wrong up there, as the Diamondbacks beat the Cincinnati Reds 7-0. Shutting the 2-game streak that the Reds had going on, Morel Kelly went 6 innings, 1 hit, no runs allowed, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts. While your Mike Minor, who's got his second outing last night, went 4 1/3 of an inning, 3 hits, 3 runs, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts. Like I said, home runs after home runs after home runs for the Cincinnati Reds last night. Now, listen, maybe this is all because of the rain delay, because the storm did come in pretty heavily last night. The game didn't get started until a little bit after 8 o'clock, probably I want to say about 8:20, 8:30, late at night, went to pretty late into the night. But, and then that's the other thing, that could have been a reason why the starting pitchers go well. I mean, I've heard it time and time again. Starting pitching works differently. It takes you a good, I say about 30 to 45 minutes. You're already throwing approximately 70 to 100 pitches before you even get the nod to go out there onto the mound to pick each inning out. I'm sure Mike Minor was getting ready throughout the day, pondering the whole, okay, what's the rainstorm looking like? The rainstorm didn't really come until later in the afternoon also. So we also had those tornado warnings in the area until about 10 p.m. I hope everyone was safe out there, by the way. But I do know for pitching factors, it does take a toll on you. Now listen, hey, 4 1/3 inning, giving up 3 hits, 3 runs. That's not a terrible outcome. You think about the second start from Mike Minor, a guy who was out for the first half of the season, or this first ever up until this past weekend, and he's getting his outings against the Nationals, against the Diamondbacks, and it's going to probably take him, like I mentioned earlier this week, probably about a month to a month and a half before he's going to find his rhythm. Now, it's going to be key that he finds his rhythm, because you got guys like Ashcraft and Hunter Green that's really performing to their peak standard. But the bullpen didn't help at all, and there was just no runs. No runs the Reds could get. Every time they got something going, it just got shut down. Alex Thomas, a center fielder from Arizona, playing key, incredible game last night. Very outspoken, very defensive player. Robbed Joey Votto from a home run in the first inning. Made a couple of great, spectacular diving catches from him. As a rookie, I mean, come on, they joke about it all the time. Arizona snapped a 4-game losing streak. Reds' 4th shutout on this season just doesn't look good here, as the Diamondbacks took Game 3. Now, the Reds still lead the series 2-1, but the one thing the Reds should really want to try to avoid is a series tied at the end of the day. The Arizona Diamondbacks go in today's game 27-31. Zach Davies will get the nod for the mound, 2 for 3 with a 4.18 ERA. The Cincinnati Reds will have Tyler Mahle as they entered the game 20-36. The Mahle is 2 for 5 with a 5.43 ERA. Now, this is where that crucial moment is before heading into the weekend was because, listen, the Cincinnati Reds are about to take off to St. Louis to begin a 3-game series with the Cardinals. You got Luis Castillo on the mound tomorrow. What you need is a getaway day victory here if you're the Reds, because you want to be able to go onto that road. I mean, first of all, you want to end that. They're 3-3, so they're 3-4 on this homestands. You want to be able to end off 4-4 at least. I told you that you wanted to win, but I would be satisfied and pleased if you end the road stands off with a series tie. So beat the Arizona Cardinals, go on, finish the home stands 4-4, go to St. Louis with the victory, a little bit of confidence going into your next stretch of play. It's a getaway day, so like I said, Cincinnati's in St. Louis, Arizona is going to Philadelphia after this, just headed up north here. Like I said, keynotes I have down, I want the Reds to bounce back. And obviously, it's going to probably be a little cooler, but normal weather conditions expected. I haven't seen anything in the forecast. Let me check here. I think game time is going to be in the high 60s, low 70s. Start getting sunnier to the end of the game day. Only expect about 20% chance, so highly likely they'll be able to get this game in. No problem. So no worries about this weather conditions, but this is why you gotta love to live in Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky area. Weather in June still pretty inspective. Last night's Around the Horn leadership board as we get to scores and updates. The Detroit Tigers beat the Pittsburgh Pirates 3-1 to end that series. The St. Louis Cardinals fall short to the Tampa Bay Rays 11-3. The Phillies shut out the Milwaukee Brewers 10-0, and the Chicago Cubs and the Baltimore Orioles was rained out due to weather conditions. They will make that game up on the 18th of August. Taking a look into today's games, who else is playing in the National Central? In the NL Central, you have the St. Louis Cardinals and the Tampa Bay Rays get underway at 1:10, just shortly after the Reds and the Diamondbacks. And then you also got the Philadelphia Phillies on the road finishing up their series against the Milwaukee Brewers at 2:10. Let's take a look into this weekend. What does the Reds and have to also hold around the Central? The Cubs will be in New York to be facing the Yankees. The Milwaukee Brewers will be facing the Washington Nationals. And the Pittsburgh Pirates will be in Atlanta. Standings, we're still looking at Milwaukee at least in a comfortable 1 game ahead of the Cardinals. Cardinals in second at 32 wins. Pittsburgh Pirates in third at 24 wins. And coming in that fourth place is the Cubs with 23 wins. Cincinnati still behind in fifth place. One thing I propped up yesterday, I want to keep on bringing up again today, is that Steven Strasburg gets his Major League he gets his 2022 season underway today as he gets the nod after coming back after an ending season surgery back on June 1st, 2021. He will be facing the Miami Marlins, who has Trevor Rogers up on the mound for the Marlins. He's 2 for 5 with the 5.80 ERA. Washington Nationals are fifth place in the National League East. They're 21-37 and about 16 and a half games behind first place. So you think about anything that if the Washington Nationals wants to get a jump start on their season, it's better late than never. You would have to start it, and something at least exciting coming out of Washington with Steven Strasburg returning. Like I said, maybe a little bit of biased opinion there, but I'm excited because Steven Strasburg, from San Diego. So getting excited to watch him get the nod, and he hasn't been the same since the beginning of his career. I want to take a break here. When we come back, I want to talk to you a little bit before we get into the NBA Finals about MLB managers. Earlier this past week, we've witnessed Joe Girardi and Joe Madden, two of your probably better well-known managers, getting released from their duties. Now, how often do you see that happening? It's still yet to come. And a couple more heads may be on the chopping block. We'll talk about that. Plus, Boston Celtics beat the Golden State Warriors 116-100. And Game 4 will be played this Saturday. Coming up later on tonight, I do want to mention here NHL semifinals, while the Tampa Bay Lightning will take on the New York Rangers. Series tied at 2. Game 5 will be tonight at 8 p.m. The winner of the series will go on and face the Colorado Avalanche in the Stanley Cup Finals. All right, let's take a break here on the throw-in. I had to get that out there. All right, well, let's take a break on the throw-in right here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel.
Trying to make up your mind like you need more time. You've already spent most of mine. Even when your words fail, you try to keep it light. You realize I'm done right. You can be honest. I don't appreciate your lies. It's about damn time you get it right. I'm up all night, yeah. You keep pretending that you'll keep fighting.
Discover your world-class artists and composers and bands. Find the perfect soundtrack and give your social media accounts the music they deserve. Epidemic Sound is a royalty-free music link. For more information, check out epidemicsound.com. This song is given to you by Epidemic Sound. It's called Out of Here by Humble Hay and Jennifer Hall. Probably one of my favorite songs on this soundtrack that I have. I just like it. And this provides me the ability not to get a copyright issued. So. All right, the throw-in here with Justin on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel this Thursday morning. We won't be here tomorrow because I have a doctor's appointment, so we will be taking a early 3-day weekend. So we'll be back with you on Monday, and there's a lot of things that we will be covering on Monday, like, for example, how did the Reds play against the St. Louis Cardinals? Did they get over this hurdle and pick up the series victory over the Arizona Diamondbacks? Were they able to accomplish a 2-game series victory over the St. Louis Cardinals to better themselves? Obviously, we won't see Mike Minor in their series, which will be probably pretty nice to see. Also, the other things, NBA, still progressing. We should find out by this weekend, hopefully, who's advancing to the Stanley Cup Finals as the Tampa Bay Lightnings take on the New York Rangers tonight in Game 5. That puck drops at 8 p.m. We'll go over the Boston Celtics and the Golden State Warriors. Did the Golden State Warriors able to hold off and pick up a victory just like we wanted? We'll go over some Friday Night SmackDown. We'll have a lot of that to talk about Monday as well, getting you ready for Raw. Breaking news coming your way here in just a little bit. But, another thing I wanted to kind of bring up to finish talking about the Major League Baseball is that it's not quite often that you see, especially named managers, being released in the midst of a season. Matter of fact, this is this article here is actually from Sports Illustrated. And, when you kind of start putting 2 and 2 together, certain teams, certain people, if you're a baseball fan, kind of only follow certain subjects or certain teams. So you don't know any other, stories going on. So what came up earlier this week is that more managers are maybe on the chopping block or what they consider the hot seat for next to be fired. All right. As we saw earlier this week, both managers, Joe Gaiardi and Joe Madden, were released of their duties. This last time that we saw this happen, all right, during a regular season was Mike Matheny with the St. Louis Cardinals back in 2018. You don't see this happen quite often, where where coaches or managers from teams, a lot of teams get fired or released from their duty. It's really actually uncommon, unheard of. You haven't really seen it much prior to that. Really the biggest ones noticeable back in 2001 and 2002. Okay. Joe Gaiardi with the Philadelphia Phillies, he's 27 and 29. Joe Madden was the recent one, the one that we talked about the other day, 27 and 31 on the season. Now the Angels got off to a really hot skid. Then they lost 12 consecutive games when the decision made earlier this week to let go Joe Madden off of his payroll. And it's not like these teams, the Phillies or the Angels, don't have an opportunity at a postseason run. They just need to find their swing again. You think about Joe Madden, I think it's been about 3 years, 2-3 years since Madden has been able to actually be with the organization. I believe, if matter of fact, if I'm not correct, I believe he became the manager for the Los Angeles Angels back in 2020 during the pandemic, if I'm not mistaken. I know that was an off-season topic, and I may be wrong. Maybe it'd be a year before that, but he left the Chicago Cubs, which he led to a World Series victory. And listen, I don't think that he's been given enough time to fix with the Angels due to the substantial amount of injuries and the uncircumstantial seasons as he's progressed. And since his arrival, the Angels have been, belching here, but getting better, slowly getting better. You got to consider that the Seattle Mariners have always been in the conversation at this time of year. The Oakland A's with Bob Melvin has always found a way to creep in. The Houston Astros have kind of dominated the last decade, especially ever since finding the water, moving from the NL Central to the AL East. And so, Joe Madden has gotten I think it's been an average span of three and a half years with teams before they decide to change. And a lot of it between 2001 and 2011, a lot of it has been through maybe front office decisions. If you got a new GM, if you had, you had new scoutings, usually a office decision that was made. Instead of, maybe performance. The last time we really saw anything was towards the end of last season when we saw, was it Jace Tingler from the San Diego Padres being left, but that was because in clubhouse controversy that they had towards the end of the last season that kind of led to their downfall because they were on the pace of a postseason run, if not competing with the Dodgers and the Giants in the National League West. They kind of started giving up because started losing their feet under their tracks because of controversies hiring in the locker room. We talk about Jojo Gaiardi. There's a couple other managers that are in consideration of being released that could be potentially on the hot stove. One of them is coming out of the Seattle Mariners. They actually set pace to be finishing fourth with a better run differential than they did a year ago. So although they are expected to be finishing fourth based off of the record they have now, Scott Servais is sitting right now with the Mariners 26 and 31. And you got to remember, they don't have their top, they don't have the top of anything. Right? Despite, when they won 90 games last year, despite a 51 run differential, worst such figure for any 90-win team, right? They're still in the race to the playoff team. You think about the extended playoffs, or another team is added on to this playoff run. They still have an ability or have the capability of getting a chance into the postseason. Okay, basically their playoff odds have dropped from 22% to 11.6%. since opening day, which was about about 2 months ago, coming up here 2 months ago here. There's a lot of things that have taken accountability. If you talk to the Mariners fans, they're probably reverted to the generally pessimistic outlook. The reigning AL Cy Young Award winner, Robbie Ray, whom they signed for 5 years and $115 million back in November, has looked worryingly hittable. Jared Kanelik is back down to AAA after another discouraging big league stint, and the bullpen is regressed badly after the unit was a key part of last season's success. I mean, there's so much for me that you can blame on the managers at this point. But another thing and this is the next guy who's on the hot seat, and they've only gave us two examples. Like I said, this is coming from Sports Center. Okay, so Scott Servais from the Mariners is one, and then you have to throw out, and I think a lot of people won't disclaim me when I say that David Bell from the Reds, all right, is also on the chopping block as we speak. Now, here's my propaganda with David Bell, and I'll make this quick as possible. Yes, they went on a 3-22 run skid to begin the season, and yes, it wasn't. How do I put this? All right, you could compare it to Brian Price, who was fired on April 19th, who went on a 3-15 skid, all right, in 2020. But let's kind of open the broads. What have the Reds really had to walk into coming into the season? All right, they were gutted out of just credential. You got rid of Tucker Barnhart, which I'm not disagreeing with some of these removals. You're getting rid of guys like Jesse Winker and Eugenio Suarez. You're getting rid of guys, in your starting pitchers in your bullpen. It felt for a moment that the Reds was unloading their talent in order to save a few bucks. Now, a lot of people will proclaim, and even I will proclaim, that some of it was because they did not like the new CPA agreement that we've discussed about multiple times on Justin and Trey, which you can find other episodes if you date it back. Things just didn't look uprising. They got off to a slow start on spring training, and when you had Jose Barrero out with injuries to begin the season, you had Luis Castillo, you had Mike Minor, you didn't have your starting foundation placed on opening day. Now, really, realistically, who does? I don't expect you to, but it does take some confidence away from you when you don't have any credible starting pitchers, and you have to rely on guys like Nick Lodolu, Hunter Green, Vladimir Gutierrez, Tyler Mahle. So your aces, the guys that you depend on every 5 days to give you 7 good innings per game, right? Only giving up 2-3 runs, allowing that offense to put on some plays for you. What are they really giving you? When they're out, you rely on your next, your 3-4 guy slots come in. That's Tyler Mahle. That's Vladimir Gutierrez. They have to step up and be that ace. And if they're not properly mentally, physically, emotionally ready for that yet, that takes a lot of toll. I mean, you see Gutierrez down with an injury after having to work between the starting rotation and the bullpen. We talked about that earlier this week as well. Take a look at Tyler Mahle. I mean, I'm not saying that he's not capable of being a starting pitcher, but look how much responsibility that is given, or that is put on him alone. When you don't have a guy like Luis Castillo or Mike Minor, good authentic pitchers to pitch around you to kind of give you that breathing room. It's the same thing that works with that starting lineup. I mean, you can't just have one good player on that team that could be in your 4 spots, slot hitter. It takes the combination of Stevenson and Votto and Moustakas and Farmer to all contribute in each and every day's victory. And when you see Votto perform well, which he's had an incredible week already, already making history last Sunday against the Nationals, and then you also have to put in, Tyler Stevenson's contributing, Kyle Farmer. That just helps these other guys like Brandon Drury and Tyler Naquin and Nick Senzel to all be able to say, all right, all I got to do is get on base, and I know that these other guys like Votto and Moustakas are going to get an opportunity to bring me around to score. So it's a combination of things, and it goes right back down to the pitchers, all right? And because then you expect, all right, so Talamali, who maybe is not an ace, the guy who's behind him is Gutierrez, and then you got to worry about Hunter Green and Nick Lodolu, who hasn't had much MLB playing time, which all, by the way, Tyler Mahle and Vladimir Gutierrez are still very recently activated on the Major League roster. They just started making their formality on that rotation last season. So, it was discouraging. Opening day was discouraging because the owners just despiting the fans. I mean, when you start disrespecting your own fans, it's hard when no one wants to come to the ball club and see. And if you start performing and winning, the owners are going to do? They're going to take all the credit for it. And they do. You see them. They take all the credit for the success that the Reds have had. Oh yeah, we did this. If you just believed in our system from day one, then we would have told you we're a playoff team. That type of stuff. And honestly, it's not, because I feel like some of these players, they want to be able to go out there and make it to the playoffs to show the owners, saying, hey, listen, you could gut us and you could tear us apart all you want, and we're going to come back out and just still win. But at the same time, if you do that, you know what sign you're giving the owners? Hey, we could do this on a cheap budget and be like the Oakland A's. We could be the next Billy Bean of professional baseball, and no one does it better than the Oakland A's. So, I mean, just keep an eye out. I wouldn't be surprised if David Bell gets the letter. I really don't want to see David Bell leave the organization. Get fired from anyway. I'm not blaming him for the performance, because all he could do is make decisions. And when your entire bullpen is not performing at its level, I mean, look at, for example, I praised so much on Hunter Strickland because when I saw him in San Francisco back in the day, I knew just how good Hunter Strickland was. But let's be honest, this season, he has not been the same Hunter Strickland he has been for other teams, for other ball clubs. And it is concerning when you have one of your better veterans. All right, I consider him a veteran. I consider him a good veteran. And when he can't lead your bullpen to success, you kind of wonder who can. There's really nobody right now that you're really comfortable out of that bullpen throwing out there in a crucial or critical situation to help the Reds win the ball game. And these starting pitchers, they're fine. We're in May, and they're starting to find their rhythm and their flow of everything and how everything works. Well, you expect them. You need that bullpen to help bring the confidence up to the starting pitchers, because if they don't have the confidence of going 6-7 innings, knowing that, hey, my bullpen is going to, if I could get them set up to win a ball game, that they will shut down a ball game, then it's like, why do I need to go 5-6 innings and put myself through the torture of trying to keep, runs down to a very minimum? Anyways, that is a little rant that you hear here about MLB managers on the can. So, on the hot stove. All right, as we promised you, before we cut to a break, let's get you to some NBA updated finals here. As of yesterday, Boston went into the series tied with the Golden State Warriors. I told you guys two things that Boston needed to do in order to pick up the series. For example, okay, from something I wasn't really aware of, it's been 12 years, all right, since June 13th of 2012 that a NBA final game has been played in Boston. And you know against what team? The the Los Angeles Lakers. You know what happened in that series? The Boston Celtics lost, unfortunately. Boston had to do one big important thing, and I think that they've done it. All right, and listen, I think that's what they're going to have to do this series in order to keep up the rally. I told you that these next two games in Boston are going to be crucial for the Celtics because they're going to have to beat the Golden State Warriors. Because the last thing you want to do is tie the series and go back, dropping 2 games, going back into San Francisco. Now, what did the Celtics have to do in order to win this game? Well, you know what? They had to beat themselves, right? They're not really getting all those points up in the in the paint. They actually ended up shooting 52 shots in the paint last night, and it's also about simplicity. All right, Boston, you don't have to do anything more, anything new, exciting. You don't have to make no half-court shots. You don't have to do any special moves. Just make your simple shots. Do the simple shots. Put the points on the board. And let Golden State Warriors make the mistake. Because the way that the Golden State Warriors are right now, and the way that I heard it from yesterday, I heard the post game, I saw it through some time and time again. You know what the Golden State Warriors what the Golden State Warriors have to deal with right now? Draymond Green. How much does the Golden State Warriors rely on Draymond Green to carry them? And that was one thing that pointed out at the end of last night's game. Draymond Green just didn't show up. And you know what? When he doesn't show up and he's not in his rhythm, they lose. All right. What happened back on game 1? Draymond Green even went out there and said, hey, I'm not playing myself. And they lost. All right. Draymond Green comes into the game. And when he sets the pace, all right, he has the ball control for the Warriors. He will get the ball. He will get control of it. He will control the game, control the pace, make it at his speed. And when that happens, you got Stephon Curry on the roll. You got Klay Thompson out there, just all settling in, getting their job done. And what did you not see last night was a good performance by Draymond Green. And the Boston Celtics capitalized on it. I told you it was a third quarter production. Well, let me put it this way. Here's one thing, only thing that's coming out of good from last night's Boston and Warriors game was Klay Thompson. All right. Steph Curry is going to be Steph Curry. He put up 31 points last night, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. We talked about Jason Tatum. Okay. Well, you know what? Jason Tatum did his average, maybe a little under average last night, but it was also nice to see Jaylen Brown put up 27 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists last night in the victory. And what I like about the Boston Celtics right now is that, like I said, they had to beat themselves, right? They don't have a depth of a bench that you could really rely on coming into the game. So these starters are going to have to go the extra, 5 minutes just to put over a victory. And every second that these starters are out there is going to be crucial of how many points they can put on the board. And it's all about, let's not rush it. You don't, just because you don't have the depth, is that these guys don't have to rush the game. Let the game to come to them. Let the Warriors make the mistake. And I'm saying, I'm pretty confident that if they can, they will go into next game, which will be tomorrow night at 9 p.m. in Boston again. They will go in with another victory. I think it's crucial that the Celtics go and, take away another victory. Okay. For game 4. All right. So NBA wrote an article from Sean Powell, and I just want to share with you very quickly before we get to cut to break. 5 takeaways from the Celtics Game 3 victory over the Warriors in 2022 NBA Finals. Let me just read this really quick. Coming in at number 1, Celtics overcome the tremendous opponents. Mentioned it already, themselves. All right. Coming in at number 2, Draymond raises the temperature. Celtics met it. All right. Draymond did not show up, did not perform, did not take took more into his own hands, and he was, he needs to make sure the game is more of in his control. Wasted Klay. See, the time that Klay Thompson actually shows up and performs, so Warriors aren't there. They don't have what it takes to win that game. Every outing is important, and Klay Thompson has a good outing last night, and the Warriors couldn't pick up a victory. One-legged time, Lord, is good enough. All right. Celtics center Robert Williams III uses one good leg to put on the Celtics one game up, in the series. Think about this, Robert Williams. If you were facing maybe the Knicks back in February, he'll be sitting out. This is the last 4 games of the season. Be injured, I don't care. You're going to play the game unless you physically or mentally cannot play whatsoever. Coming out number 5, Warriors on one Friday stumble away from a tight spot. Yes, if the Celtics could pull off a victory tomorrow night on Friday, then the Warriors are going back home one win, one loss away from losing the NBA Finals. And I think the way that this team is, the way that the Warriors are, I think a lot of people are expecting the Warriors to pick up this victory, this series victory over the Celtics. But if they don't show up tomorrow night, things may be in jeopardy. All right, let's take a last break. Breaking news coming up next here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. All right, welcome back to the throw-in here. I want to give a shout out to all of our things that make our show possible, things such as StreamYard, Epidemic Sound, Canva, how we made our commercial breaks for you, and Place It. Those are our logos and designs, our intro videos to our show. Like I said, we will not be here tomorrow due to a doctor's appointment that I have, but we will return back on Monday. Just coming across my page here where I was wrapping up the show. Be sure to check out Armchair Booking, Steve Barber and Dwaylen Davis, as they break down weekly news, highlights, and shows of professional wrestling. The latest episode on the review of Hell in a Cell is available on YouTube and all audio streaming platforms. Check out Steve Barber, Dwaylen Davis at Armchair Booking Podcast today. All right, coming about some injuries. I feel like for the month of June, injuries in the world of wrestling keeps on getting worse. You got guys like Adam Cole, Bryan Danielson, Cody Rhodes going under surgery under the knife today. Also, I don't know to the level of extent on where this was led at, but we are also seeing breaking news from the bump from the WWE that they are reporting that they are writing off Edge from television, it seems like, with a non-displaced orbital floor fracture, basically broken face, and this is to write him off of television for some time. And you know what? I'm a little disappointed to hear about this because I don't know why you had to write off Edge from television. I think a lot of people are still questioning why Edge was erased from Judgment Day. I threw out numerous of examples of what could happen. I don't know the status of Edge. Obviously, I do know that according to his reports, Edge says that each time he's out there in the ring, that it takes him a couple weeks to get better. And I feel like, he's definitely not an every week talent person to be showing the face of. The only thing that I feel like is really offsetting for me is the fact that we lost Cody Rhodes earlier this week. He has to go through surgery because he tore his pec. Now, I know that is a clear injury, but when you look at right now the roster of WWE, especially in the main roster of Monday Night Raw, and then you also compare that to the article that came out earlier this week to expect another handful of talent releasing. The first thing, I was just checking our Armchair Bookings podcast a moment ago before we came back, and the first thing that I heard Steve say was, listen, they're offsetting roster talent to make record-breaking financial budget, make financial income. And it is just, for me, sad to see, because the longer they do keep up, and I will agree with Steve, the longer they do keep up with that, the more it's going to hurt them in the long run. I don't think that the WWE at this point, I would have understand and accepted it a year ago, where maybe you did, maybe the pandemic was catching up with you, and you consider how much it costs to run a Raw, a SmackDown, and if you're not selling out arenas and this and that, and you're not having live shows, it does catch up. But what I'm also thinking in the back of my mind is the WWE trying to make the budget books to look better, because something bigger and probably more undisturbing could be lurking in the near future. And before you think about this, when you are ready to give the company to somebody else, you really want to convince them that the company is doing good. And the only way, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter about the product that's on the TV. It's about what is in the books. And if you have the money in your books and you see that, hey, we're making money, you could sell that company for twice or three times as much as you would sell it if it's going under. Okay? If it's going under, or if you're not making as much money, you're barely breaking even. If you think about selling the company, it's like selling a house. If you're going to sell a house that has a lot of TLC required, okay, in order to fix it up to resell it, okay, they're going to buy it at the lowest reasonable amount possible. But if you've done TLC yourself and made the house look presentable, look sellable, then you're more than likely are capable of getting more out of it as if you didn't do anything. So take a look at it, for example, an apartment. If this hole behind me, if there's a wall behind me, had a hole in it, and I sold it with the hole in the wall, I wouldn't get as much as if there wasn't a hole in the wall, because now someone else has to come in, spend money, and fix that. In other words, what do? Maybe I just plaster over it, so I temporarily fix it. But then enough, it looks good enough to sell it for more. And I feel like that's what the WWE is doing. They're plastering over the cracks of where things are going wrong. They are fixing the bare minimum. They're making all this money for the books to make it look good. I feel in a potential reasoning of some big significant changes coming up very soon down the road. I don't know how soon, but at some point down the road. Talking about to Edge being written off of television, I feel like this is a big blow from both WWE and for both Monday Night Raw. You think of the two things that gravitated your attention to Monday Night Raw right now was the formation of Judgment Day and the fact that Edge was in the conversation of Judgment Day, and we don't necessarily have a clear leader or the direction of what the Judgment Day is going down now. The only thing I know is that Rhea Ripley has a title opportunity at Money in the Bank against Bianca Belair, which, by the way, Money in the Bank is coming up July 2nd, and they have not yet worked a single match towards the Money in the Bank briefcases for both the men's and women's. I'm assuming it's going to start next week, but I've never seen such a late process from the WWE when it comes down to the Money in the Bank. Normally, this is a ticket seller. Normally, you expect, hey, we know July 2nd's Money in the Bank. Why are we not working for who's qualifying those matches? Also want to give a shout out as well and break down to you that Roman Reigns has allegedly, or it's been reported, that he's no longer scheduled for Money in the Bank. And one thing looking into Friday Night SmackDown tonight is why isn't, all right, Roman Reigns scheduled for Money in the Bank? He has not defended those titles since he's won those titles. The only match that he's been in since WrestleMania has been WrestleMania Backlash involved into a 6-man tag match. All right. Is it because they don't know the clear direction? I feel like a part of it has to be because they are afraid, with Cody Rhodes going out of injuries, with writing Edge off of TV, whether or not he is injured or not, I have no idea. But a lot of this probably has to do because they are protecting their asset for WrestleMania 38. You think about how big of a match Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar is going to be. The less time that Roman Reigns has in the ring, there's the less amount of chances that Roman Reigns has a chance of getting hurt between now and then. Well, here's my thing on it. Drop the title. From, like I said, coming to WrestleMania, do you guys still think that putting the title on Roman Reigns now is a great choice? I'd rather have Brock Lesnar have the title, to be honest. Roman Reigns needs to drop that title, because while we are still looking for The Rock and Roman Reigns at Money in the Bank or at WrestleMania 38, you still need to have those titles up for grabs, and someone needs to be claiming them. That's all I'm going to say on that. I still stand by my statement that unification of the championships needed to be put on Brock Lesnar or dropped last month. All right, what's the future? Because I know Riddle is currently trying to go after Roman Reigns. Well, if Roman Reigns is not having a match with Riddle, I don't think Roman Reigns and Riddle is a SummerSlam match. Now, from the original plan was, at least leaked sources stated, that it was supposed to be Riddle at Money in the Bank, Randy Orton at SummerSlam, and then Drew McIntyre at Clash of Champions. Now, here's my thoughts on that real quick. Randy Orton's out with an injury. Riddle, I don't see why you can't give him a SmackDown championship match, but I think at SummerSlam would be a great time to drop that title. And I think it would be a great time to drop that title with Bobby Lashley. I think he is another guy who should be given another opportunity. And then moving forward should be something that Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre should focus themselves in a feud leading into next year's WrestleMania. Last but not least, I'm going to come up with the last two stories. The Street Profits beat the Usos last on Monday Night Raw. Does that give them the title match of the chances? Yes, but here's the thing. I don't see many more tag team fractions going after the Usos. So what does the Usos do? Do we start dropping titles? I don't think nothing changes anytime soon still, unfortunately. I think that this is just a waste of time, but I would do like to see it. Last but not least, last Friday, we did discover that Ronda Rousey has a new opponent, has her first opponent since beating Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania Backlash. What is her opponent is Natalya. We fighting that feud we should be seeing tomorrow night. Thank you guys for tuning in to The Throw-In. I am Justin. We will be back again here on Monday morning. Stay tuned. Hit that share and subscribe button, and be sure to check us out. Download us on audio streaming platforms and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok for more information. Thank you guys. Have yourself a wonderful weekend. Until tomorrow, you guys take care.